The 4th of July is usually a time for cookouts and fireworks, but for some kids it leads to major dysregulation. They're covering their ears, they're running from all the loud sounds, they're spiraling after eating popsicles full of artificial colors, and they are a completely different kid for days after the 4th of July. If that's your family's experience, you're probably dreading this weekend, not thinking about how it is the highlight of your summer. Here's what I want you to know. Your child's meltdown is not a behavior problem. It's not about them being spoiled. It's not about your parenting. It's a nervous system problem, and the research tells us exactly what's going on and what we can do about it as parents. So what we're going to talk about in this video is why red dye 40 and why other artificial colors are such a major impact, and it's honestly way worse than just a sugar rush for kids. I want you to understand why fireworks or other sensory heavy environments really create this downstream of a neurological effect and mood dysregulation, sleep struggles, all sorts of other issues afterwards. Because this is something that's affecting a ton of our kids, right? Every single year we hear from families around this time of the year, man, my kid's really struggling. Maybe they did better than last year, but they still had some meltdowns. Or we know that we can't even go to the 4th of July or the carnival celebrations because they're going to have an outburst, a tantrum, a meltdown, or you're going to pay for it for days afterwards. And that's not okay. What I want you to understand is this whole concept, this whole kind of sequela that leads up, whether it's the popsicles or the sports drinks or the evening fireworks or the not enough sleep, all of that's going to lead to your kids struggling when they are dysregulated first. So let's get into it. Let's start with some of those yucky factors because honestly, you might not realize how bad some of those dyes or some of those artificial colors are. Red dye 40 is by far the most widely known one, it's the most widely used, and that has a massive impact. So that and other artificial colors are in so many of our 4th of July staples, right? It's popsicles, it's the sports drinks, it's candies, ketchup, cereal, fruit snacks. It is in almost all of our food. Thankfully, there's a slow movement that's changing, right? That's been in headlines, it's been shared around, and I'm so thankful for that, right? Kids and chemicals don't mix. We want to get that out of there, but it's still around, right? And there's been so many studies around this. There's a study in The Lancet that showed artificial food colors majorly increase hyperactivity in kids across all ages, not just ones struggling with ADHD, right? Maybe you just think of this as, oh, that's an ADHD kid problem. No, this is affecting all of our kids. Other studies found that these dyes and colors cross the blood-brain barrier and are directly affecting some of the neurotransmitters or brain signaling. Other ones have shown that they cause neuroinflammation, or what you might know of as a leaky gut, or gut permeability is increasing. They're a major toxic stress to our body. We need to get rid of them. And what is worse is that because the vagus nerve, this main sensory regulation nerve that comes out of the base of your skull, a ton of the input from the vagus nerve is sensory perception from the gut into the brain. That toxic overload to the gut creates a neurological dysregulation too, and that's where we see even wider ranging consequences from it as well. So what happens is that creates this major dysregulation in the nervous system. I want you to understand these two different modes that your body can operate under as the gas pedal versus the brake pedal. The gas pedal is your stress response, right? That's your kid in survival mode. They're in fight or flight. They're just running from the bear. And that's a problem if you get stuck there. It's okay temporarily, right? We can go into that survival mode state as long as we get back to balance, because that brake pedal or the regulation side of the nervous system, that is sleep and digestion and immune system and emotional control, all the stuff that we expect out of our kids, that is that brake pedal. So when we get stuck in that fight or flight state, that's when it's going to show up as major struggles in all different aspects of the body. When we have those extra stresses, when we have those toxic overloads taking place, now your system is sensitized. And so the sensory input that comes in, whether it's the fireworks, or maybe you go to the parade and there's the fire trucks with all their extra sirens, or maybe it's the crowds, or this year especially, it's going to be super hot out, right? Maybe it's muggy, it's hot, they're sweaty, they're physically uncomfortable. Also, if you're like my family, this time of the year, you're doing fun stuff with family, the sun's out till 9 p.m., kids aren't going to bed as early as they should. Now we're sleep deprived, and all of these factors are building up to create this dysregulation within their nervous system, which means now they're less able to handle challenges. So maybe they would have been okay with a little bit of the dyes or a little bit of the extra sensory or a little bit of the missed sleep, but when that all combines, man, now we've got a kid that is having major emotional feelings. They're having meltdowns or tantrums. They're refusing to eat. They're covering their ears when the fireworks and the sensory barrage comes. They're not able to handle it. These are all signs of their nervous system stuck in fight or flight. It's not about the fireworks, it's not about that final trigger, it's about an overwhelmed system as a whole. Another thing you might be thinking though is, well, my one kid struggles with this, but the other doesn't. Or you see some families that their diet's even worse than yours, but they can get away with it while you feel like you do everything perfectly, but the one little exception you make means your kid's struggling. It doesn't feel fair, right? It doesn't feel like it should be that way, but every kid's set point, every kid's ability to adapt is different. A lot of that comes down to some of those early life factors. What we see over and over again with working with kids is that what we call the perfect storm, the sequence of events in that prenatal, birth, first year of life really sets the stage. And so if you have a kid that maybe there was a little bit extra prenatal stress, and so their nervous system was default moded to fight or flight. Or maybe the birth process was a little bit more traumatic. They had a forceps, a vacuum extraction, a C-section delivery. That is a massive impact and damage to that brainstem upper neck area. It creates an imbalanced system. It creates a nervous system stuck in a dysregulated place. Or maybe they had early antibiotic exposure. They had other stresses in that first year of life that just created that default mode where their system was more hardwired for stress. Any number of those factors, and especially even more so if they're all combined, means that that kid's going to have a harder time regulating. They're going to have a harder time adapting to the extra challenges that this fun summer time brings on. So if we understand that whole picture, we can see, okay, there's the red dye, the chemical assaults, there's the sensory barrage, and that double whammy can really create major challenges for kids who have that foundation of the perfect storm already setting up in their shop. So that's all the bad news, guys. What is the action steps? How can you actually help support your kid through this? Two things I would think about. One is, how do you minimize the damage that they're under, right? Some of those, it's an easy black and white. For our family, it's a hard no on any of the dyes, right? And thankfully, there are so many good options now, right? Just beside me here at Thrive, we have organic dye-free lollipops. There's all sorts of clean drinks, clean sweets, clean treats. They're still treats. They're still not health foods, but your kids are gonna love them without being completely busted neurologically from that toxic stress. So look for no dyes, no colors and everything, and be okay drawing the line on that, right? You can provide your kids alternatives. You can honestly provide the neighborhood, provide other families that too, so you don't have to feel like your kid's the outsider, but make that the priority, right? Let's have a hard line on that, avoiding the colors. If you know they're a little bit more sensitized to the noises and those sounds, maybe you bring headphones for the fireworks show, or maybe you just have a game plan to back off to get them back home when they start to feel that. I would protect sleep. If you know you're gonna have a big day, if you know you're gonna have a big couple of days, protect sleep surrounding that, right? Don't go into it with them already tanked and already depleted. I know that's part of our family's game plan for making it through the 4th with lots of memories and not lots of meltdowns. But what I really want you to think about as well is, what if that deeper stress is taking place? Maybe they had that perfect storm start. Maybe they had some of their life struggles, and you don't know how to help them because you're doing all those things already. You're doing all the stuff I just listed off, and they're still dysregulated. They're still struggling. That's where we got to get them scanned. That's where we got to see, how are they functioning? What's going on deeper in their nervous system? And figure out if we need to put together a game plan to help them out of that stress, right? To get them out of that fight or flight gas pedal mode and back into a regulated brake pedal, calm growth and development state. So that's what chiropractic is for. That's what pediatric, neurologically focused chiropractic is all about. And that is our mission and our focus here at Thrive. So if you feel like your kid struggles with those things more than they should, if they're the one who maybe had that perfect storm challenge or prenatal stress, birth trauma, early life interventions or antibiotic uses or other medications, if that's been what they've had to face, well, let's get them out of that storm. Let's help support them, help regulate them ASAP, and avoid these problems, not just this year, but create a different future trajectory. That's what we want for our kids, is not just temporary symptomatic relief, but we want to see them reaching their full potential. Please reach out if you have any questions about what those scans look like. We're here to help. Can't wait to meet you in the office soon and help your family thrive.